Hey, summer science students. It is week 3, so that means that we are more than halfway done. So 2 more weeks, and then we can go ahead and enjoy our August off. I'm Miss Wastowski. I'm your science teacher, in case you forgot. And let's get started with this lesson. Okay, some important information. I'm going to go through this really fast. Check in on Schoology Conference. Guys, it's never too late to start. And remember, when you check in, you get 5 points. There are 2 quizzes. By now, you should have 20 quizzes done, which seems like a lot, but remember that we do 2 quizzes per day. So as long as you're keeping up with 2 per day, you should be on track and hopefully not getting too overwhelmed. When you're missing days, that's when it's really going to catch up with you. So anyways, you want to perform well on these quizzes because you get 5 points for above a 65 and 2 for below. And if you need help with your quizzes, join us on Schoology Conference during your class time, or also watch the YouTube summary. And remember, when I'm giving you the YouTube summary, the red words are the vocabulary words, and the underlined words are the definition of the word. Okay, so far, all of the quizzes in yellow should be done by now, and this is just a bit of the list. So all of this was last week from week 2, and everything above that is from week 1. So we're really getting along. So just make sure that you are staying on top as best you can. Okay, so before we see each other again, you need to finish the respiratory system all the way to gas exchange and breathing on GradPoint and take the 2 quizzes associated with those 2 chapters. Please watch how I get into today's lesson. It's just a little bit different from the past. So we're still in Unit 2. So click on that. However, we've moved down to folder 3. So click on that, and everything in yellow is what we are doing for today. All right, so I'm going to start telling you the summary of the 2 chapters for today. Remember, it's just highlighting the main points or what I think are the most important points. It's not everything that's in your slide. It's just the stuff that I want you to walk away from the lesson saying that, like, yeah, I really get this. An organ system that brings oxygen into the body and removes carbon dioxide or takes out carbon dioxide is the respiratory system. And here's what it looks like if I had x-ray vision and I could see someone's respiratory system. All right, so there is a path that air is going to follow all the way from the nose, mouth into the lungs. And that entire path is lined with cilia. And cilia is kind of similar to villi. They're these little like hair projections. And what that is going to do is help bring air or oxygen into the body. So it's almost like little brooms that are going to help sweep air into the body. So the main organs of the system are the lungs. And let's talk about the path of air into the body. So let's go like in order. I'll give you directions of the path of air into the body. So first we're going to start off with the nose. So air can enter the nose. It can also enter the mouth, but today let's just focus on the nose. And after the nose, it's going to hit the pharynx, which I always like to think of as like the back of the throat. So air is going to collect there in the pharynx or back of the throat. Then it's going to go down your trachea or windpipe. Remember when we were talking about the digestive system and I said that you have like 2 tubes kind of going down your neck? One is your food tube, the esophagus, and the other is your wind tube or where your air comes out of. So the scientific name for the wind tube, we're going to call it the trachea. And then it's going to go to the bronchi, which are these like 2 branches that branch into either lung. Remember, you have 2 lungs, left and right. Okay, so I said that the purpose of the respiratory system is to bring oxygen into your body, but what's the purpose? What's the point of bringing oxygen in? Well, first of all, you would die without it, but remember that oxygen is the starting ingredient for respiration, which takes oxygen and glucose. And remember, we learned our chemical formula of glucose is C6H12O6. So it takes in oxygen and glucose and uses that to make energy from food. So here's the chemical formula. I take glucose, C6H12O6. I take oxygen, chemical formula for oxygen is O2. And then I make energy, so that I can power my body. And I also make carbon dioxide and water. And carbon dioxide and water are like, I make them accidentally, so they're not the main purpose, but they happen. And when you're making carbon dioxide, you can't keep it in you. You got to get out of it. You got to get rid of it. Okay, so this chemical formula above, this takes place at the body cells. Okay, so this is at a cellular level. This is teeny tiny. All right, so please stop, hit pause. What you need to do is take your respiratory system quiz because we are done with the chapter for the respiratory system. So I always recommend to go back and maybe watch it one more time before you take your quiz, or take it as, or watch it as you take your quiz. Okay, moving forward, we're going to talk about gas exchange and breathing. Just to remind you, this is the path of air. We got nose for number 1. Number 2 is the pharynx, back of the throat. Number 3 is the trachea. And number 5 are the bronchi. All right, so you can talk by air moving over your voice box, but voice box isn't very specific. We're going to call this the larynx. Here it is. All right, there's also something important in your respiratory system, and that is the muscle below your lungs called the diaphragm. Here it is on the diagram. And this muscle is going to help you bring air in and out of the lungs. So when you inhale, breathe in, your diaphragm is going to contract and pull down. If you put your hand on your belly and you breathe in, you can kind of feel it. This will make more space in your chest so that your lungs expand. And you feel that again when you breathe in. You feel like your lungs kind of lift, and that's because they're not your lungs, your chest, and that's because it's expanding. So what happens is this makes the pressure in your chest lower than the outside air. We call that atmospheric pressure, and air is going to rush in due to the pressure differences. Now, inside the lungs, because you're inhaling, and now all of a sudden you have this nice oxygen inside your lungs, there are tiny sacs. So if I could zoom in on the lung, it would look like this. Tiny sacs, I think they look like little grapes, called alveoli. Not ravioli, alveoli. That's my favorite joke to say in science class. All right, and the purpose of these little sacs or little balloons or little bunches of grapes, however you want to remember them, is that they give a place for gas exchange. So they'll increase the surface area, which means it makes more space for gas exchange. And remember, when we're talking about gas exchange, we're talking about oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, you can stop holding your breath because we're going to talk about breathing out. So to breathe out, your diaphragm and rib cage relaxes and air flows out. This is called exhalation. So surrounding your lungs are your ribs. And they literally make like a cage, like a protection or armor over your lungs. And that is there just to protect your lungs. So again, during exhalation, breathing out, carbon dioxide is moved out of the body. Remember, we make carbon dioxide accidentally when we go through cellular respiration, and we can't keep it. It's not good for us, so we got to get it out. And just to remind you, for the respiratory system, you have oxygen going in, carbon dioxide coming out, oxygen coming in to go through respiration and make energy. And accidentally, when it makes energy, it also makes carbon dioxide. And so you got to get a way to get that out because it's never a good idea to have waste in your body. When we're talking about gases in the body, I would say 99% of the time we're talking about oxygen, O2, and carbon dioxide, CO2. All right, stop. We're done with gas exchange and breathing. Please take the quiz. Again, I'd either go back and watch it one more time, the GradPoint summary for gas exchange and breathing, or I would watch it while you take your quiz and maybe hit pause every once in a while. And when you're done with that, you are done for the day and you're more than halfway through. And I'll see you back here tomorrow.